What is going on, YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just VSN podcast, and today we have episode 67, and we are fresh, and I mean fresh, just a hair over 24 hours, well, 28 hours now, or 27 hours, whatever the math is. The point is, a day after Ohio State has a dominant, convincing win over Oregon in the rematch. Here we are, about to go to the next round. We just came off the live stream from yesterday. Drew, how are we feeling, my man? Obviously, being on stream, we were hyped. We were having a pretty much a good time, especially for that first half when it was just score. And it slowed down a little bit, but the vibes were good pretty much the whole stream.
Yeah, dude, the vibes were immaculate the entire stream. I mean, what more can we say? It's everything that we wanted. We thought this game was going to be closer than it was, but Ohio State did not forget what happened in Eugene, Oregon in week 3 of the season.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted revenge, and my God, did they get it and then some. Like, not only did they just batter Tennessee in the first quarter alone, they just battered Oregon in the first quarter. Well, hell, in the first half.
Yeah.
I there's not much to say because Oregon just looked horrible, and once again, the media themselves looked like a bunch of idiots saying, "Oh, OSU just got lucky against Tennessee, this and that, and Oregon's gonna truly wipe the floor with Ohio State and this and that." And like, it's funny how much they underestimate us now.
Oh, yeah.
Even though we just decimated Tennessee 41-10, or 41 to something 10 like that, 17, and then we just decimated Oregon. Like we dropped 41 and 42 points in both games.
Yeah.
Texas is getting ready to get dropped to 40 burger too if they're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, after them giving up 31 against Arizona State, and that took double overtime to do it.
After they blew a massive 24-8 lead and with 10 minutes left to go.
I mean, they're not they're a little bit of a sloppy team. They make mistakes, and Ohio State has to come up with another great game plan. But they really have to continue to attack them just like they have these last two games. But dude, I mean, obviously the two shining stars were Will Howard and obviously the best receiver in the entire country, man. Jeremiah Smith, a 19-year-old freshman. These two came to play, and really the whole team came to play. But starting the game off the way they did, pretty similar to how they did against Tennessee.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith starts the ball off. We got him going early and often. I think he had like 160 something receiving yards out of his 187 just in the first half alone.
Yeah.
And Will Howard again throws for 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns. The run game continued to be pretty dominant. Henderson with some home run balls, man. I think he was the X factor because he really started to suck the life out of Oregon, especially with that first long run that he had. I think it was like a 68-yarder or something to really put us up. And, dude, after that, it just seemed like Oregon, they were so shell-shocked they couldn't really recover until that last drive before halftime. And even then, Ohio State didn't want to let up. Like they gave up another longer drive to start the next half, but after that, Ohio State was back in action. They were doing their thing. They scored some more points. The defense got back to being in a flow. Got a lot of coverage sacks, and Ohio State once again proves that if they play the way that they did against Tennessee and Oregon, they are the best team in the nation, and there's gonna really not be any team that's going to really exceed them until they prove otherwise. Ohio State is that good when they play like this.
Oh, absolutely. They're the most legit team in the NCAA when they play like this. Again, it's just the fact that They got off to a very, very fast start. Immediately first drive, go down and score. What do you do next? You get a 3-and-out. Then you go down, you score again, and then you just continue to cycle, man. You force the 3-and-outs. You continue to force them to make mistakes,
Yep.
force them to do something against you. It took until the third quarter for them to finally get that offense going. And even then, we kind of let up a little bit. We were playing a little bit more soft zone coverage, and we weren't really attacking. We were starting to only attack with 4 guys. So I think it was just like kind of like an FU from the coaching staff to Oregon, like saying like, "Hey, listen, we're we're up 38-0. We're up
Yeah.
31-0. Whatever. Like we don't care. Like go for it. Do what you got. We're up 31-0. Go for it. Like let's see what you got. Like we'll sit back a little bit. We'll let you mess around a little bit, but it was almost like cockiness, and I kind of love that from our coaching staff. Go up big and get a little cocky, let them do something, like kind of sit back and play with them and toy with them a little bit, and it's making me. I know I'm gonna calm myself down a little bit because I don't want to get overly cocky
Yeah.
because I always get that thought into my head that if I get overly cocky, I'm gonna jinx the team and we're gonna get our asses kicked by Texas.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that Ohio State has all the leverage now. Now that Oregon's completely out of the way, we have nothing but the leverage.
Yeah.
Um, because there's the way that Notre Dame played, they did not look great today. They committed like 14 penalties in the first 5 minutes of the game, and they were being penalized all game long. They were overly excited to be playing in that game. So they have a lot of lack of discipline. Penn State, at least under that bald man, James Franklin, he has never beaten you,
Yeah.
and he has no game plan for you. So James Franklin is always scared of Ohio State and runs away when Ohio State comes to town. And then Texas, I mean, granted, the last time we faced him was in 2009 when Colt McCoy decided to show up against Ohio State and
Yeah.
lead a game-winning drive with like 13 seconds left in the fourth quarter in a BCS Fiesta Bowl.
That's right. Wasn't I think Terrell Pryor was a freshman around that time or
Yeah,
something
Terrell,
because he had a receiving touchdown in that
yeah,
game. If I totally remember remember that.
yeah, yeah. It was the BCS championship game in 2009. But yeah, that was the last time Texas beat us. And again, like we said, they hardly looked good against Arizona State. Like, yeah, they went up 24-8, but they had a hard time scoring those points against Arizona State. And Arizona State isn't really that big of a deal of a team either. So if you're an Ohio State fan, you have to feel somewhat good
Yeah.
about going into the last 2 games into the semifinal and then the final because these are teams you've beaten before. And obviously, you haven't played Texas, but Notre Dame you've handled last year. Penn State, James Franklin has nothing on you. Like he has never beaten Ohio State, and he struggles against top. I think it was like top 10 opponents or something. He's like for like 17 or like 1 for like 16 or something like that. I can't remember the exact stat line, but he's either won or lost every single game against a top 10 team. So even James Franklin has nothing on you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think this, and we can get into this here in a little bit, but the fact that Ohio State is the 8th seed right now,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that seem to look the best right now. All top 4 teams this week lost. Georgia just lost, Oregon lost, Boise State lost, and Arizona State lost. All of the top teams that got those buys lost this week. That's not good. Um, I really think the 12 team bracket is too much. Um, these teams having, what was it, like 3 weeks they had off before playing another game.
Mhm.
That's not good. Like it's no wonder all top four teams lost this week because they don't have the time to prepare. Ohio State had an extra game under their belt.
Mhm.
Texas had an extra game under their belt. Penn State had another game under their belt. And Notre Dame, I mean, listen, they're not going to be a high power, like high scoring offense, but their defense is very, very solid.
Mhm.
Texas has a pretty solid defense and a
Yeah.
better offense than them. And Penn State does have some really solid players. I was really impressed with Drew Aller this week.
I think they
I
just choke in big games.
Yeah, I mean, Boise State played a much better game than the score said it was.
Yeah.
Because they were down pretty big there at one point, and they slowly started to climb back. It was just too little, too late. But they really did not play that bad of a game. But again, it's two different giants. Like
Yeah.
having a Penn State team play a Boise State team should not be a college football playoff game.
Ever.
It should never be that. Boise State, I'm sorry, man. They did not have the reputation to be able to go up against these teams. I'm sorry. Like I don't want to sound like an asshole to Boise State fans, but like, dude, you can't play the teams that you guys were playing all year long and seeing, you know, Genty go off and do incredible things this year. But as soon as he played a decent team, he had one
Nowhere.
really, really good run. But other than that, he had 30 attempts on like just a little over 100 yards. And it's why I never really wanted to be in the running to draft him as the Browns because
Mhm.
I think there's plenty of running backs in this draft, and we saw two of them yesterday. Penn State has two great running backs.
Yeah.
Texas has great running backs. Oregon has great running backs. Oregon got stuffed. And let me now transition over to some of these stats because some of these stats were insane for this game. So Ohio State 20 to 15 in first downs. Oregon technically was a little bit better at third downs, but we just had less third downs because we were scoring every like 4 or 5 minute drives. It
Yeah.
was incredible. But the point differential here on the total yards and stuff is absolutely insane. Ohio State had 500 total yards of offense. Oregon had 276. We had 319 passing yards. They had 299. But this is where the crazy stat is. We had 181 rushing yards on 31 attempts, almost a 6 yard per rush average. Oregon had negative 23 yards rushing with a negative zero point 0.8 average. Um, we recorded 8 sacks with 13 TFLs. And again, as I said, there was a lot of coverage sacks.
Yeah.
And Oregon still had about a minute and a half more of time of possession than we did. And
Mhm.
again, it's because we were having quicker drives. Those first few drives that we were scoring in were within a 3 minute drive. Like it was within like 5 or 6 plays at most. Like
I
Ohio
think
State was just taking shots and they were hitting them almost every time.
I think our first three touchdowns, those drives were no more than 3 plays and lasted
Yeah.
about 2.5 minutes.
It was,
if
dude,
if anything else.
it's nuts. And it's like, it's almost like the coaches were hearing all of the noise from people like us and all of these fans that are saying, you have just insane weapons. Please use them and use them correctly. And Jeremiah Smith, again, 7 catches, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ibuka had 5 catches for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. G. Scott had that one big catch at the very start of the game to set up the Jeremiah Smith score. Henderson had 3 for 20 yards, and then Tate had 1 catch for 10 yards. So didn't really spread the ball around, but you didn't have to. I mean, again, Jeremiah Smith is your guy. Every 50-50 ball that we threw to him, he made. I mean, all you had to do was look his way, throw it up, and he was getting it. And we just had a really good split in the run game too. I mean, Jeremiah or so Travion Henderson had 8 carries for 94 yards. The two scores, but Judkins seemed to be more of our power back. 17 carries for 85 yards. A 5-yard average, which is solid. Like, it's still solid. I mean, the only reason that Travion had as little carries as he did is because he had the home run balls, and we're like, well, we got to get Judkins involved as well. So they just gave it to him more. And Will Howard, I mean, again, he just played another clean game. Not quite as clean as he did against Penn State or Tennessee. Didn't matter though. Like he didn't throw picks. Some of these balls that he put were on the money. That one to Ibuka was almost as pretty as the one last week or the week prior. And the 2 bombs to Jeremiah Smith were great. He had plenty more throws that were just, I mean, every time you threw it, he was like, dude, he's hitting him in stride. It's in the bread basket. It's just everything is kind of going Ohio State's way. And I want to make this comment. This gives me the 2015 team vibes because we are still technically the underdog here, being the lower seed. We have a lot more to prove. The team up north loss was embarrassing for us, obviously, for many reasons. But it really seemed to wake this team up in a lot of ways. And I'm going to try to justify the fact that the loss ended up helping us more than it did not help us. It got us a worse seed in the playoff, but Ohio State has an edge to them that I have not seen or really felt since the 2015 run. And the only people that really seem to believe in us are us, the fans. And it's just fun to watch. It's fun to see. And I think the guys all have the right attitude. Like guys like Jack Sawyer, dude, he is becoming I think a fan favorite for a lot of people for his attitude and his presence on that defense and really just the team in general. He's literally acting like such a true-born leader. And it's fun to see that. The aura and the vibe around this team is very exciting, and it's why I just have so much confidence. Like, yes, Texas is going to be a tough team. I don't care. I mean, I don't. After doing this to Oregon, we can do it to any of these teams.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
just have to show up, and they have to continue being that way. And I know I heard a quote. I forget who it was from, but somebody said after Oregon scored right before the end of the half there, the guys were acting like they were down. Like they're like, hey man, we still got 2 more quarters left. Keep your head up. Blah blah blah. Like they took that score at the end personally. And yes, Oregon did score that next drive, but after that, I mean, there wasn't much more that they could do, and it didn't matter because Ohio State was just continuously doing enough to just suck the life out of Oregon. And the only thing that I wished, honestly, was that Ohio State put up 50. Like, I really wanted them to just go in and just sling it. And, they did slow down. They're very known for doing that when they get these big leads. But when you start fast like this, when you go up, what was it, 34-0 before they scored? Yeah, 34 because we scored 20 in the second quarter and 14 in the first. So, yeah, I mean, 34 points to nothing. Just, I mean, once you get up to that big of a lead, it's hard for any team. It doesn't matter how good you are. There's not enough time and a half like that to come back after just getting demolished like that. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's completely impossible. And, I'm just happy that Ohio State has come out here and they just completely shut people up like Kirk Herbstreit. They've completely shut people up like Dave Portnoy and all these other guys, these big time national media members. And, I saw Pat McAfee's tweet that said, holy shit, are Ohio State actually legit? It's like, brother, we've been legit.
Yeah.
You just you and everyone else just keep sleeping on us. Why? Because we lost Oregon the first time around? Why? Because we lost to Michigan by 3? And you're just going to count us out because of that? It makes no sense to me. We are hands down the best college football team in the country. Hands down.
Yeah.
The teams we see coming up, we've beaten before. Like I said, the only thing we haven't faced is Texas. National TV, we beat Notre Dame last year. Like I said, all season long, we continue to kick Penn State's ass. Who's really out here to stop us?
Yeah.
I know, I get it. Like you said, Texas has a great defense. I'll give them that. You also have a pretty solid offense. But what the hell do you do when a team like Ohio State just comes out here and on the first 2 possessions just immediately go up 14-0? Like, at that moment, what the hell do you just do? There's not much you can do because you're just like you said, Oregon was so shocked.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, what the hell just happened? They blinked as 2 minutes went by and it's already 14-0. They're like, what just happened here? Same with Tennessee. They looked at it like, oh my God, we just blinked and it's already 14-0.
Yeah.
By the end of the quarter, it's 21-0. By the end of this, it's still the end of the first quarter is it's 14-0 at the end of the first.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen to Texas when Ohio State get the ball, 6 plays, go down, touchdown. Next thing you know, you got a 3 and out. You got to punt the ball. Oh shit! You blinked again. Oh, it's another touchdown. Quinn Ewers is going to freak the hell out.
Oh yeah.
And with someone like Jack Sawyer breathing down your neck, and JTT, who has finally found himself during these college football playoffs, and then you got, Cody Simon too has been electric.
11 total tackles, 2
and yet
sacks,
3 tackle for losses, and then you look at JTT, 3 tackles. 2 of them were sacks and 3 tackles for losses. Like it's
Jack Sawyer, 2 tackles, 2 sacks. You had late. I think Ransom had a sack. Even Caden Curry came in and got a sack later on in the game. And dude, these safeties that we have are some hard hitting safeties between Ransom, between Caleb Downs, Hancock, Sony Styles, who is 6'4", like 235 as a safety. Dude, these guys, and even the middle of the defense, like Tyleik Williams and Ty Hamilton are just 2 massive human beings. Caden Curry came in and played great. Jackson Jr. is going to be another big guy too, DN for us. And there's still guys that are like top recruits that haven't even gotten to really touch the field yet. And like, that's what makes me excited for the next few years. But this defense is relentless. And ever since the last Oregon game, we have been this defense. Like, we have been shutting teams down, no matter how good or bad they are. We've been shutting them down, and Oregon was supposed to be the top, like offense in all of football. You can throw that out the window. I think the only other offense that I think could really compete with us is probably Texas, and then Penn State, and then Irish. But when Ohio State is firing on all cylinders like this, man, it's really hard not to pick them at this point.
And just even with this Ohio State defense playing right now, none of these offenses can get going. Or, like you said, besides us, Oregon probably had the next best offense. And they couldn't get shit going. They couldn't get nothing going. Like you said, we had 13 tackle for losses, 8 sacks, 52 total tackles. We held them to negative 23 rushing yards. They weren't even allowed to run the ball. And it took, again, Dylan Gabriel until the third quarter to finally complete a couple passes. And that was just because we laid off. We were even playing tough defense anymore. We laid off because we didn't want to gas our guys out. Because it's already 30 plus to 8 or to 7 or whatnot. Yeah, 30 plus to 8. Because, I remember they had 8 points.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre that you go up 30-8 at the end of the first half, and the only response that they had is, well, we have to wait for Ohio State to back off to do something to get this offense going.
Yeah.
And you still hardly could get your offense going. So I don't know how a lot of these teams are going to look when they play Ohio State. I mean, Texas is probably looking like we're screwed because if our offensive line can't hold anything, Jack Sawyer and JTT are going to give us nightmares. Cody Simon's going to pop out of nowhere. Lathan Ransom's going to kill one of our receivers.
Yeah.
There's nothing going for them.
I'm really hoping that the refs actually call some holding calls because Texas is a sloppy team. They had a lot of freaking penalties in this game against Arizona State.
They did.
This game was pretty clean on both ends. I think we had two penalties, and I think they had 3. So there wasn't a whole lot, but there was a lot to be called, especially for Oregon
there was
State.
a lot missed, yeah.
There was a time where Jack Sawyer was literally getting put into a literal chokehold. There's a few times that I saw him getting held, guys getting tackled down. There was some missed calls, but at least it didn't hurt us. So there wasn't too much to really complain about at the end. But I'm really hoping that the refs are a lot more consistent with this game without ruining the game. That's one upside to sort of letting a team play like that. It is you don't let the refs ruin the game, but you still have to let them control the game enough to make sure guys don't get hurt. I think the really only major call that they got right was that face mask on Judkins there in the third or fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Where it was the dude damn near ripped his helmet off. And I'm like, dude, that's such an easy call. It's not even funny. You can clearly see the guy ripping at his face mask. So it was at least nice that they called that. But yeah, I really hope that the refs can do a little bit better of a job there because Texas is a sloppy team. And I think if Ohio State can again get to a fast start, the thing about Oregon is they didn't have to face a lot of adversity this week or this whole year. And I think us starting as fast as we did, I think it just helps so much. Because it gives you a chance to get under their skin, and you got under their skin quickly. We were just a motivated team. And Will Howard even said this post game. He said, I really wanted to win this game. And he's like, the only team that I have not beaten when I was at Kansas State was Texas. So I'm really going to look forward to this game. And I am too, Will, because you have come out so far and played a pretty phenomenal college football playoff so far. Dude, everybody's showing up. And Ryan Day has saved his ass. He's not going to get fired now. That's getting. I mean, that's getting laid to rest. And I will say the one major upside to him is when he does show up, he shows up big. I think he just has a weird issue with that team up north. I don't know what it is. He just can't play him because everybody else he seems to thrive. And I don't know. It is weird. But to also make this point too, now with how the college football playoff is being a 12 team playoff, these rivalry games don't have as much meaning now.
No, they lost it all.
Because even if you lose or win that game, as long as you're a top 10 team, you're going to make the playoff.
Yeah.
And it's different because back then in the BCS era, if you didn't win that last game, it mattered, especially being one of those top 4 teams because you were trying to have the best overall record possible for the BCS to put you in there. And you don't have that anymore. Now it's college football playoff. It's a committee. It's people having to make opinions, and sometimes they're wrong. And this is how it goes. But you just have to be good enough to get into the playoff. And if you're good enough, you can make a run like this.
Yeah, and to reiterate that, this college football playoffs with the 12 teams, like you said, it gives you so much of a cushion to lose and not feel the effects of it, because you still have a high-end chance of making it to the playoff. Whereas the BCS era, if Alabama was like ranked like second in the country, and they lost to say, let's say, number 23 Kansas, they're dropping from 2 to like 9, and they just screwed their entire season off that one loss. So if you lost in the BCS era, it was over for you if you're in the top 4. Like if you lost one game, you were cooked.
Oh yeah.
And then too, the number 1 team and number 2 team played in the BCS championship. There was no 1 versus 3 and 2 versus 4. It was number 1, number 2 playing the BCS championship, number 3, number 4 playing the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
That's how it went. And those teams had to have gone perfect. Like if you looked at those standings, every single one of those top 4 teams were always perfect or lost one game.
Yep.
Other than that, it's not like, oh, we're going to bring in Mississippi State, who lost 4 games, and they can sneak into the college football playoff because we like the SEC so much. We like to suck Alabama's dick because we like to gobble the SEC and gobble up Alabama and be like, 3 losses. Oh, you lost to South Carolina. Oh, that's a big dub for us. Oh, you lost to Vanderbilt. Oh, that makes us even harder.
Well, here I'll even take this a step further now. With it, the transfer portal being as crucial as it is now, the North is starting to take SEC players and getting them in their last years. Like we got Caleb Downs, we got Seth McLaughlin, we got Judkins all alone from the SEC, and I know we've gotten more. That's the ability of the transfer portal that makes it so OP. And there's not really an allegiance for some of these players anymore. It's who is just going to pay out the most money, or who is, as they get older, or as they get older again, hey, I want to win, I want to have a cool day, legacy, or I want to play because I want to have a better chance at the draft. And that's what guys like Will Howard have done, and his draft stock is going up. Guys like Cody Simon's draft stock going up. Ibuka's stock is going up even more. Sawyer and JT both
shot up the rankings now.
Ransom's going to go up. Iggy is going to go up. Like all of these top guys, like these juniors and seniors that all came back for this year, for this moment, their draft stock is all going up, and it's because they're on a team like Ohio State. And
you got a wide receiver who's going to go number 1 next year, most likely.
Yeah.
Like Jeremiah Smith is probably the number 1 overall pick next year. Yeah. He's Jamar Chase 2.0.
Yeah. And I think he actually might have 2 more years before he gets to actually be draft eligible. I'm not 100% sure.
I think he is 2 years.
Yeah. It's weird. But yeah, I mean, even as it stands for him now, if he were draft eligible for this season, he would be a number, probably top 5 pick at minimum, if not even 1. Just because of how talented the kid is. And he's got the body frame of an NFL player. He's going to be something special, man. And we all gloated so much about Marvin Harrison Jr. and the Garrett Wilsons and the Chris Olaves, the Mike Thomases. Like, we've had some excellent receivers come through here in the last decade. And Jeremiah Smith is a special, special player. Yeah. It is something to watch, man. And this running back duo again, I think I just saw a stat today. They both have the same amount of yards rushing this year. It's like 975 each.
It's something
10
ridiculous.
touchdowns each. Like, they have had the most equal split down the middle time that they could have possibly had, and there's a reason why those guys are both going to go in probably round 2 of the draft. This team is just nasty, and
it's like watching a healthy Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt all over again.
Dude, it really is. It's so fun. Like, when they came out to that just quick lead, I mean, me and you were just sitting there on stream like, what the hell is happening? Like,
is this a redo of the last game? It's like, what is going on?
I
Because
know.
we're so used to Ohio State starting off games slow.
Yeah.
And they did it all year this year. And all of a sudden in this playoff, I think they've turned the switch of saying we have to start fresh. We have to start fast. If we don't, we will lose. And I don't know why it's taken Ryan Day so long to get this or understand this. But they found it and they're here. And this O line is starting to finally play better, and they've had injuries. Gabe Jackson moved from left guard to left tackle. He gave up 0 pressures, 0 sacks, 0 anything, dude. He was perfect. And he is a left guard. And now he's going to get looked at as more of a swing lineman. The only thing he hasn't played is center. And that improves his draft stock. And he was already going to probably be drafted within the first 2 rounds as a guard. And I think this just boosts it now because now teams are going to be like, hey, we could use you at tackle or we could use you at guard. It really doesn't matter. It's more your pick, but having your flexibility there, it makes you more usable for these teams. And dude, this team's just fun as fuck to watch, man. That's all I can really say. Wow, just what an incredible night. I'm excited for this game.
I am too.
Against the Longhorns.
Yeah, I am too. And I just, for the split second during the stream, I was like, are we really going to go up 21-0 in the first quarter again?
Yeah.
Like, are we really going to do this 2 games in a row? It just shows you how good this team really is and how good this team could be. And that if we just started like this all the time,
teams would be scared to death.
Yeah. And I will say, if Ryan Day does win the national championship, he deserves to keep his job.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
Shit, he even deserves an extension at that point.
Yeah. I think after these 2 games, he just proved himself and just said, listen, like, I deserve to be here.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, he's usually actually pretty decent when it comes to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
He's usually, we got screwed last year because his kicker couldn't kick against Georgia. He flubbed the 48-yard field goal and, looked like that meme, that NFL meme, Madden meme, whatever, where it's like all the way to the left or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is he going with that kick? It wasn't even near the he almost kicked it straight out the sideline with that kick. I'm like, holy shit, dog.
I mean, I think what really makes Ryan Day so useful for this team really is not even so much the fact that he's a good coach, because he is a good coach. He has weird moments.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play well against that team up north. I don't know why, but he is an excellent fucking recruiter. He knows how to recruit. He knows how to build a relationship with these kids, and he does a phenomenal job building talent. I mean, ever since Ryan Day has come through, dude, we've had some really good quarterbacks, a lot better quarterbacks than I think Ohio State has really ever had, because we've always been known to have like decent college, QBs, but we've had a string of like really solid passing quarterbacks that have had some sort of success in the pros. I mean, Stroud obviously has a down year this year, but has a shit O-line and a lot of, injuries.
Rookie of the year too.
Fields has not been a bad quarterback. He just hasn't found his home yet.
Yeah.
It's just, and Will Howard could be pretty decent. I think he'll be a nice little project because he is a big bodied quarterback.
Yeah.
It helps when you are built like him, because if you work on, your footwork and you work on your arms, as long as your arm talent is above, average, you could play in this league.
Yeah.
And he has the ability to scramble and stuff. So Will Howard would be interesting. And I'll even make this case too. If the Browns take him later on in the draft, I won't be like mad at all. I would rather have him as a sort of experimental quarterback
than having a guy like DTR. Just he
Yeah.
can't throw. I mean, he can't throw the ball.
I just looked up a comparison because I was like, you mentioned Will Howard's size.
Yeah.
I I looked it up, and he is the same exact build as Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Same height and same weight.
Yep.
Exact to a T.
No, I mean, he just doesn't have the arm talent that Josh Allen
Oh,
does.
absolutely not.
But he's accurate. He's accurate. He doesn't have a huge arm, but he's accurate, and he's athletic enough to make plays. Like he kind of reminds me of Bo Nix a little bit. Just again, not as quite of a heavy arm that he has, because Bo Nix can sling the rock too. But again, when you have that size, dude, it helps you. Like it just helps. You can develop a quarterback with a frame like that. So he's going to be an interesting experiment for whoever gets him.
Yeah,
and if the Browns want to take a look at him, I would be fine with that, because again, if you don't take Cam Ward, I really don't want a quarterback in this draft. But if you're going to take somebody, a guy like him would be fun to replace DTR and then trade DTR for a late pick and call it a day.
And he's mobile.
Yeah, he's mobile. Yeah, I mean, it helps.
And to that point too, if the Browns were to draft anyone, I know someone said that if Drew Aller were to make a run in the college football playoff, that he might go to the draft. So I'm hoping he does meet us in the championship game, so that way he does go to the draft and be like, all right, well, I'll take Drew Aller at this point. Give you Will Howard or Drew Aller. I'll take one of those two.
I'm very on board with that, because I watched that game versus Boise State, and he made some NFL throws, man. He really did, and he didn't look that great against us, but he's looked great ever since.
And
he's been solid. I mean, he duked it out against Oregon, but Oregon was able to put up 40 plus points on them, and they scored under half of that against us here. And again, that's just why it's like going back to it. Ohio State, it really is built to win the Natty. They just have to continue the confidence. They can't get too overzealous. They can't get too cocky. Just have confidence and say, hey, we are here to do a job. We have one more game ahead of us, and then it's the next game. And it's just, that's a mentality you got to have. And that's why it just reminds me so much of that 2015 run, because it's the same vibe to me. It's that same chip on your shoulder. Not everybody believes in you. It's that Ohio, against the world sort of motto. That's fun, man. Like yesterday was so much fun to watch.
Dude, it was fantastic to watch. I was having a great time during the stream.
Yeah.
It was. I hope we get another opportunity against Texas and do the same thing and make me smile even more.
Absolutely. I mean, it was so much fun.
And if we make it to the championship game, I would be hands down so confident that we would be national champions, because I know we could beat Penn State, and I know we could definitely beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to this game against Texas, man, and I'm excited. I'm ready for it. I can't wait for it. Next Friday is gonna be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited for next Friday. So we'll see if we end up being able to live stream it. Yeah. I usually do stuff on Fridays, so we'll see. But still, these last two streams have been fun as hell. We've had a few people pop in, so we do appreciate people that do decide to pop in and just chat with us. But that's pretty much all I got on the game. I'm kind of cool to just get right to the picks, since we're already at 44 minutes. I don't think the podcast needs to go too long this week. So yeah. Let's go ahead and get into picks.
All right, let me present our little screen here. There we are. So let's get into these picks here. And the first game is the best game of the weekend. It's going to be the Browns versus the Ravens.
The only fun thing is that Bailey Zappi is getting to start this week, which might make me watch it a little bit, but the Ravens are going to win because they have to win, because they're not Well, they're in the playoff, but I don't think they've locked up the AFC North yet.
Yeah,
And I know the Steelers and Bengals, obviously, they have another big game that's going to decide a wild card game, if not even the AFC North. More so between the Ravens and Steelers, but the Bengals have to fight. So Ravens all day.
yeah. I will with the Ravens too, like you said. It is pretty much just over at this point.
Sucks. It is what it is.
It is what it is. A lot of guys are out. Shout out to also too, before I forget, shout out to Jerry Jeudy for his first Pro Bowl selection.
Yes.
Myles Garrett's in the Pro Bowl. Denzel, another Pro Bowl. So 3 starting pro, and they're all 3 are starters, listed starters. So shout out to those 3 guys, obviously being the best of the best.
Yep.
And then shout out to the other, I think it's 6 other guys who are subs for our Pro Bowl backups, essentially. And those guys include JOK and, plenty others. I think David Njoku's listed on there as well.
Yep.
Batonio is too. I mean, so a lot of those guys, shout out to them. Worked very hard to get to that spot.
Absolutely.
But I know a lot of these guys aren't playing in this game, and that's why I have Baltimore. It's a meaningful game for Baltimore, and it's to win the division. And the next game we're going to talk about here is going to also help decide that, and also is going to decide the Bengals' future, because if the Bengals lose, there's no postseason for the Bengals.
Yep.
So speaking of which, Bengals and Steelers, who you got, man? And Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, I'm actually rooting for the Bengals here. I do think the Steelers are going to squeak by just because they are at home.
Yeah.
But let me be very clear. The Steelers defense is not playing as well as they were earlier on in the year, and the Bengals right now have one of the better offenses going on right now in the league. So this is going to be an interesting game. And honestly, you know what? I'm going to say the Bengals will upset the Steelers. They just have not been playing well. They've been slumping. TJ Watt, I saw a stat earlier, I think this week. He's not even in the top 30 in pass rushes this year.
Yeah.
Top 30. He's not even in it. And he's, I think, the current favorite.
He is.
For the defensive player of the year.
He's a favorite for defensive player of the year award right now. And they actually talked about that with Myles Garrett today.
Yep.
And Myles said, well, watch the tape and you'll see who the true defensive player of the year is. And for me, it's between him and Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah. I think he's much more deserving because he has no help on that defensive line, especially right now since I think Hubbard went out a while ago. I know he got hurt. He was pretty much his running mate, and he hasn't had him. And the Bengals defense beyond him has been ass. Yeah. So for him to do what he has done,
14 sacks.
Yeah, he's a stud.
For me, it's between Myles, Hendrickson, and Pat Surtain.
Yeah, easily. I think those top 3 are a lot more deserving. So
yeah. But I'm with you. I'm going with the Bengals in this game. TJ Watt has been non-existent since probably week 5. I was looking at stats for him like every game after.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been recording too many sacks. He's only at 11 and a half sacks still. And like the games that I've seen, he's only had maybe 2 tackles all game, and he's had a few tackles all game. And it's like, is this the same TJ Watt like the last couple of years? Like, where did that guy go? He got 2 tackles in the last game he played. It was 2 whole tackles. Where the hell was he? Is he just getting cocked? Like what is going on with this guy? And it shows you that he's not a true pass rusher unless he has a lot of help.
Yeah, he's a cleanup artist, man.
And he's just a cleanup artist.
That's what we've been saying since the start.
And so I think he's going to be non-existent in this game. Now, I'm sure they're going to be a little bit hyped up because they're at home and the fans are going to get them hyped. But what Joe Burrow and the Bengals are doing in the last few weeks is unstoppable on offense. Like, it's going to be impossible to stop those guys. Jamar Chase is probably going to have, another 100 receiving yard game.
Yeah.
So give me the Bengals and that high-powered offense, and they're going to sneak in. Up next, Carolina And Atlanta at the toilet bowl.
Atlanta's going to win. They're at home. I mean, the Panthers have no reason to really try to win. Just try to get the best pick as you can. Atlanta is actually still fighting for a playoff spot.
Which is wild.
And they've been playing a little bit better. So I'm going to pick Atlanta. But honestly, I won't be surprised if Carolina makes a little, game of it. But they just don't need to. So you might as well not.
No, I want Atlanta as well, just for the fact that they're fighting for a playoff spot and they're fighting for playoff contention, and it's at home, so it's going to be a playoff atmosphere in that building. Washington and Dallas. At Dallas.
Washington, because I think they still have to play their guys this week, and Dallas is pretty much starting to. They're starting to slowly shut it down too, because they're out. So there's really no need for really any more of their guys to get hurt. There's talks that Cooper Rush might not even play this week.
Yeah,
so we'll see. So Washington should do it.
Yeah, Washington should do it too. They're in the playoffs. Dallas is out of it. Like you said, they're probably going to play Trey Lance. So if that were the case, then Washington should be able to just clean this game up easily. Okay, Chicago and Green Bay.
Green Bay. I mean, they're at home. Even if they don't start their starters, they should still do it. Chicago is pretty bad.
Yeah, I completely agree. Not much discussion needs to be had there.
Yeah.
Give me Green Bay. Plus, Green Bay always owns Chicago.
Yeah.
Jacksonville and Indianapolis.
Honestly, this is more of a shit bowl to me than Atlanta and Carolina. Because both teams are out. It's really going to come down to Joe Flacco versus
Mac Jones.
And I'm going to pick Joe Flacco. They're at home. Yeah. But honestly, I won't be surprised if the Jags end up pulling out a game. Just because the Colts have been just another weird team. They're so inconsistent. And I don't know how many of their starters they're going to play. So we'll see, but I'm going to pick Colts.
Yeah, I went with the Colts as well. Like you said, for me, it's just a matchup between Joe Flacco and Mac Jones. And even if that Jacksonville defense were to try, Joe Flacco would torture him a little bit. So give me the Colts. New England versus Buffalo in New England.
So I saw that Drake May should play in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm about 90% sure that the Bills are going to be sitting some of their starters.
I think they're resting all starters because they clinched a number 2 seed. What's the point of playing?
I am actually going to pick the Pats because I want the Pats to win. Because if they win, we get a better pick. If we lose, which we're going to lose. So I'm only going to pick the Pats just because I want them to win. And if they do win, it'll look great on me. So,
well, lucky for you, I did the same shit. I had the same mentality. I said the Patriots because I want them to win so we can have a better draft pick.
Right.
Plus, again, with the sentiment, I think the Buffalo is going to sit every single starter that they have, and so I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I think Drake May is going to play and he's going to play well, and Buffalo is going to have all their second and third string guys out there.
Yeah.
All right. Another kind of the same situation. The Giants versus the Eagles.
Yeah. Eagles are still at home. And that McKee kid actually played pretty decent.
He did.
For what he is. And I know they're gonna sit some of their starters. I don't know if they're gonna sit everybody, but unfortunately Saquon will not break the record. Which is kind of unfortunate, but it's cool. I mean, I get it. I'm actually also no.
I think
I'm still gonna say the Eagles win this game, but I am gonna root for New York to win again, just so they can really fuck up their whole draft. Because if they win again, they'll probably be outside of the top 5 for sure.
Yeah, so I went with the Giants in hopes that they would just fuck up their draft more.
Cool.
And just to be different.
Yeah.
It's
week 18. We're just trying to have fun at this point.
Yeah, it's week 18. We're trying to have fun. Like you said, the Eagles are going to send the vast majority of their starters. Poor Saquon's not going to break the record, which I was hoping he would have. But obviously, I understand he's a very injury prone player, so you have to rest him for the playoffs because you're desperately going to need him to make a Super Bowl run. So, give me the Giants. New Orleans and Tampa Bay.
I'm going Tampa. They're obviously at home, and they have to win. They have not locked up the NFC South.
It's a shutout. It's a shutout Atlanta, essentially.
Yeah, so they have to win. So I'm going Bucks.
I want Bucks too, just because they have to shut out the Falcons.
Go Baker.
Go Baker, baby. Come home. Please come home.
Please.
Houston versus Tennessee.
This
is a weird one
because I don't think Houston is like a lock in the playoffs.
I don't think so either.
So they have to win. So I'm gonna go Houston. I am hoping that the Titans somehow do pull it out, because if they do, that also helps us as well, because they're like their number 2 pick.
I think
this year. So.
And you know what I did? I went with Tennessee.
Titans.
Because give me that draft pick, baby. I want the draft pick. Give me the draft picks. I went with Tennessee. I'm just having fun at this point. I know I'm going to get blown out, but I could care less. I'm just praying to God for better draft picks, which is why I'm having teams like Houston lose. San Francisco and the Cards.
Both teams are out of the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, they're done, both of them.
I do think the Cards are still going to win, though, because San Fran is now down to Joshua Dobbs. Jake Moody is like a terrible fucking kicker. And yeah, San Fran's just kind of, I mean, they're still fighting, but Josh Dobbs isn't going to have them scoring much. So I'm going Arizona.
Yeah, I did too, just for the same reasons. All right, KC and Denver.
I'm going Denver with KC sitting all of their guys. They don't need to win. They don't need to lose. Like, there isn't like they have the first seed locked, and Denver is fighting their ass for a playoff spot between the Bengals. So they have to win anyway.
Yeah.
And they're at home, so it helps. So I'm going Denver. Plus, they almost beat Kansas City early this year. So I think with Wentz as the starter, I think it makes it a lot easier for them. I think Denver does it.
Yeah, I think Denver does it as well, just for the fact that Kansas City's sitting everybody, and this is to, again, basically shut out Cincinnati out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. Up next is the Rams versus the Seahawks.
Rams are at home. I think Rams do it. I think they have their seed locked.
I don't remember.
I think they have, because they're in the same division as San Fran and Seattle, and I think Cardinals as well.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure. Everyone in the NFC West is out except for the Rams. The Rams have locked up that division.
Okay.
So every one of these teams is eliminated. So the Seahawks are eliminated.
Yeah, so I'm still gonna go Rams. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna sit everybody or what, but I'll go Rams anyway. So
I went with the Rams just for the sake of it. They're at home, and why not? Also, let me take a look at the playoff too, just so like. Yeah, so right now, every team is basically in. The only thing that's different is in the AFC, it's a dogfight between Denver, Miami, and Cincinnati for that last spot.
Yep.
And Denver's at 9-7. If obviously if they win, then Miami and Cincinnati can't make the postseason. So if Denver beat KC, it's over for Cincinnati, Miami, regardless. Because they finished 9-7, they would finish 9-8, and Denver would finish 10-7.
Yeah.
And then in the NFC, it's between Tampa Bay and Atlanta. So again, it's one of those, if Tampa Bay wins against New Orleans, it's over.
Honestly, the NFC is stacked. It's have
crazy.
So many teams with good records. So many.
Yeah, and this is a game, again, this is another game that doesn't matter because the Chargers have locked up their spot and the Raiders are out. So Chargers, Raiders, again, it might be one of those where the Chargers just sit at people, or who knows, they might just go for something.
I'm going Raiders.
Okay.
Go Raiders. win this game so we get the first pick in the draft.
And you read my mind because I said the same exact thing. I said, give me that number 1 pick, baby.
For real.
Give me that number 1 pick so we can trade that bitch away.
Right.
Give me the most mid quarterback for the number 1 pick. All right. Up next, we have Miami versus the Jets. Obviously, this game is very important for Miami.
Yeah, I think Snoop can win this game for them. I mean, the Jets are checked out. I doubt A-Rod even plays this game, to be honest with you.
I don't think he
And
does.
from what I'm hearing, A-Rod and Devontae are both going to be out, after this year. So the Jets are going to look different for next season. So yeah, they're in total rebuild.
Yeah, I will with Miami too, just for the same reasons. The Jets are pretty much done now. That Aaron Rodgers project ended last year when he tore his Achilles in the first 2 plays of the game.
Yeah.
Once that happened, everyone knew that was over already. And Devontae wasn't going to save his career. So, yeah, give me Miami. And then the last game, Sunday Night Football. This is probably the best game.
The best game of them all.
Minnesota versus Detroit, and mind you, Detroit doesn't have anything to play for. Neither does Minnesota. They're both in the playoffs, but
what they're playing for,
game.
What they're playing for is the first seed of the NFC. So both teams are going to start their starters.
Yeah.
I'm still going Lions. I know
Yeah.
the Vikings have been playing nasty football, but the Lions have such a crazy offense. It is so insane. I don't know if it's going to be like a blowout or anything. I don't know if this is going to be a shootout, but this is going to be a damn good game. But, dude, Detroit's been my team all year, just like the Commanders have been your team this year. And I'm not stopping. It's Lions all day.
Yeah, it's Lions all day for me. I mean, they've dropped, 40-plus points in the last, 6 games. It's unreal. It's unbelievable. Give me Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions all day, every day.
Hell yeah.
And that'll do it for the Pick'ems, boys.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's last week. We'll still do playoff picks and stuff, too.
Yeah, we'll do playoff predicts.
We just won't keep track of them like we have. But other than that, we do have a tiny bit more news. Fantasy football news for each other. So we both won a league this year. And your boy won his big one, my dynasty league. Jameer Gibbs came through for me, and Laporta. They both came through for me. But I was down about, I think, 42 points, and I think Jameer Gibbs scored like 26 and a half, and Laporta scored like 21 and a half. So basically, I won my league by 0.6 points. And this is a $150 buy-in league. So your boy is excited. The payout is coming soon. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know how they're going to split it up, but Drew is in this league with me too, and you won your toilet bowl, so you did not come in last place. You were good, but you also won a league. So go ahead and share what you did.
Yeah, so I finished my league 12-2.
Whew.
And I just ran the playoffs. I think I won every game by 30 plus. And then I won the championship game 145 to 80.
So what were your guys that were really good for you this year on the team?
So let me go to my squad real quick just for a second. I thought I had a pretty good draft. I really didn't change my team, to be fair, from the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I may have changed a couple of things, 1 or 2, but my starters for the finals were Jared Goff, Kyron Williams, Devon Achane, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalil Shakir, Zach Ertz, Devonta Smith, Kaimi Fairbairn, and then I had the Colts defense just for defense, just picked up a random defense.
And Smith went off this week.
Yeah. Smith had 32.
Zach Ertz played good too, didn't he?
Zach Ertz had 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. Whew. So he had 25 and a half. Amon-Ra obviously had 20. Kyron Williams had 16 and a half. Jared Goff had 30. So, and I won 31-52 to 83.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So
So yeah, I guess I'll share my my last starting
right there,
thing here.
fantasy Super Bowl, we're the champs, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, this is my dynasty league. So when I started this league, I think I started 3 years ago. 2022, I think is when we started, or at least I
I
started this league. Drew,
I
you've
I
been in this league
was
for a minute.
I was in a right in a COVID year. I was in it during the
Yeah.
COVID year.
So when I started this league, we had like 4 keepers, I think, before our draft, and I think I picked, or I kept Kyler, Deshaun, Travis Kelce, and I think Darren Waller at the time, who obviously isn't even in the league anymore, and
Well, he
obviously
was dead by then.
Watson, yeah, but and I mean obviously what Watson sort of is what he is, but my final guys that I had this week to play. So for reference, obviously Watson on IR, Tank Dell went on IR, Kenneth Walker also on IR. So I had quite a few guys go down on IR, but I had Kyler Murray going. Jahmyr Gibbs obviously had 28 points. Kyron Williams, who was a great draft pick for me last year. Scary Terry, who didn't do shit, but I had his running mate in Zacchaeus. He had 23 points, and then I had to start Leggett because also Waddle was out, so I had
Yeah,
Waddle as well, and he was out, so I had a lot going against me. Yeah, somehow still pulled it up, but Leggett got the start. He had about 7 points, and then my tight ends, Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce, both combined scored 47.8 points for me, which is nuts. They both scored. They both pretty much had the same tie up a game. Jerome Ford got hurt for me, so we only had 2.5 points. And then Bo Nix as my super QB flex at 26.86 points. So I came through, and I'll tell you what, dude. I had to face off against Bijan, uh, Brock Bowers, Jonathan Taylor,
Jesus.
Bucky Irving, James Cook. He also had Ridley. He had Adams. He had Juan Jennings, who almost beat me. That Chase Brown and Jordan Love. So he had a solid squad. He was one of the best guys in this league. So yeah, I squeaked out. Obviously, you guys can well kind of actually
Tennessee
you really can't see that this screen's pretty bad. But the point is, your boy
is a champ.
is the champion, my
And for
friend.
context too,
Yeah.
yeah, there you are.
If I can get it, there we go. The champ,
Yeah,
the
there you
goat,
go.
the goat. So
And
excited.
for a little quick context, for people who don't know what a dynasty league is you do a draft, like a main draft, and then dynasty leagues always last 10 years and you refresh it. So the first year you do one major draft and a 4-round rookie draft. After that, you keep who you drafted. And then obviously you have 4 draft picks every year because again, every year after that you do a 4-round rookie draft. And you keep who you pick. Now you can trade picks. Obviously, you can trade players with picks and whatnot. So it's almost like dealing with the real thing or playing Madden and you're playing, the coaching mode in Madden. But Dynasty is very, very difficult. And the guy that Zach played, I mean, he inherited that team and he inherited a dogging team. No, you played Steve, didn't you?
I played
Steve,
Grandpa Irvin.
yeah, Steve. Shout out to Steve, by the way. Steve was great. Steve drafted great. He had a great team. I think he also made some trades too that got him some good talent. But yeah, so for people who haven't played Dynasty, it's very, very hard because if you didn't draft well in the first draft, you kind of screwed yourself and you have to rebuild immediately as soon as you.
Yeah. Like Drew had to, where he 2 years ago had Mac Jones playing hit lights out, and now he was like, I'm struggling for any
QB.
quarterbacks at this point.
Yeah.
And you know
I was in the
the thing
playoffs
about
too.
these, and I mean in this league too, like the drafts, it's not a redraft every year. You're just drafting rookies, and
Yeah.
then you're starting to make. Like I have a lot of players on my bench that honestly don't even really play that that much at all. So I have to
Yeah.
go through a lot of them
And
and sort of
drop
get
them.
through them. But this next class of rookies, there are going to be really fun. So the Dynasty League has been fun, and I was on the fence going into this year. If you recall, I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to be a part of this league because I had such a shit team. I was like, this kind of sucks. I had like a 6-10 win season, and I was just like, man, this is trash. And I was like, you know what? I'll stay in it for one more year, and I'm glad I did because I won. So, fun times. I have a few more leagues. I have the best ball league that's still going on, so we'll see how much I end up winning there. I've had a few good weeks there. And best ball, if you guys haven't done best ball, you just draft, and then that's the team that you have. You don't do waiver wire pickups or anything, and it auto renews like every top guy that you have on your team. So the highest scoring guy in each position of your team is going to be automated and put into your starting lineup. So you're always going to have the highest score ever. So like I've had many games where I've scored over 200 points in that league because it's a super flex league. So it's fun. If you have guys that offer you guys to play in them and you got a chance to, go for it. It's fun.
It's fun. They're fun. I love them.
It's so much fun. So yeah, good week overall. Besides the Browns obviously being shit, you guys notice we didn't talk about it. There's really no point to talk about it. We know what's going to happen. I mean, the only cool thing is Bailey Zappi gets play, so we'll see how he does.
Yeah.
But not really much to talk about. We'll wait a few weeks before, or at least until after the season, and then we'll do sort of like an end of the season review and really what we want to see, and then we'll wait a little bit, and then it'll be draft talk time. We'll do mock drafts again. I've already been starting mock drafts, so yeah, we'll get back into that. And then obviously, as we've been saying, I know we didn't get to talk about the Cavs today.
We
but
will
it's because Ohio State is so damn good right now. It's so much fun. But the Cavs are still rolling. I think Kenny Atkinson just won Coach of the Month again.
Yeah, he did.
In the East. So that's the second month in a row that he has won it. And again, they're what 27-4 or something. Like we're on pace to still win 72 games at this moment. So the Cavs are still very much rolling. They've dominated. They have a few more games. I know here in about 4 or 5 days. I think we play OKC.
Yeah, like 5 days we play OKC.
And I think that's going to be a nationally televised game. So we'll
TNT.
Finally get some national recognition, and guys will really start. It's going to be a good game because OKC's a very solid team, and if we could beat them up pretty good, that's going to say something. And
that's
good. In the media will have no choice but to talk about us because they really don't. We still get slept on. So yeah,
I mean, let them.
Yeah, I mean, I like it that way.
Well, we'll keep winning games by 20. Yeah, we'll keep winning 20 or more by 20 or more points.
Yeah,
this is potentially the NBA Finals matchup.
Yeah, potentially it could be. Yeah,
it's the Cavs and the Thunder. This is at least my NBA championship matchup.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for all of the stuff that the Cavs are getting ready to get into. But that is going to do it for us, guys. We will see y'all next week. And as always, remember, we're just BSing.